If you have been learning English for a while now and you still feel like you're not improving, this video is for you. First of all, you're not alone. This is such a common feeling people have when they're learning languages. So if you feel this way, there are a couple things that could be happening. Either your study routine is not super efficient and you need to make changes so you can see more progress, or you are improving and your expectations are just too high. Usually, I think it's a mix of the two. So let's start with how your study routine could be preventing you from making a lot of progress. There are 3 mistakes that you could be making. 1, you're staying in your comfort zone. You may be learning in a way that doesn't challenge you, but in order to grow, we need to leave our comfort zones and push ourselves. An example of this is that maybe when you practice speaking, you only talk about things that are easy for you to talk about. But in order to grow or leave your comfort zone, you can practice talking about more difficult things, like telling stories in the past tense, practicing using the past tense verbs, or talking about more complex topics. Really challenge yourself because that's how you grow. A guitar player who plays or practices the same song every single day for 5 years is going to get really good at playing that song, but he's never going to progress in skill until he starts practicing a song that's harder for him. Another example, maybe your only time listening to English is to English speakers who speak slowly on YouTube or non-native English speakers who are easier to understand. That's an amazing place to start. However, eventually you want to listen to people who speak quicker or native speakers interacting with each other. Things that are a little bit more advanced to push your skills to get more advanced. Find your weaknesses and focus on those. Number 2, you're not practicing all aspects of the language. You have to practice every skill of the language if you want every skill to improve. For example, some people listen a lot, they listen to English, they read English, but they never practice speaking, and then they wonder why their speaking skills are not progressing. If you want to improve your speaking, you gotta speak! And not just once a month or once a week. You have to practice regularly, as if you were learning guitar like I mentioned earlier. Another example is that you read a lot and you can understand written English, but you're not practicing listening all of the time. So your listening skills are not going to improve until you start practicing them regularly. The third mistake that could be preventing you from making progress is that you're not dedicating enough time to learning English. You're simply not spending enough time in the language every week or every day, or being consistent. Maybe you study sometimes, or sometimes you're like, I'll watch a movie, but you're not doing things every single day or most days to further your English. I recommend a minimum of 1 hour a day. But if that feels like too much for you, you can start trying to build a habit of just 30 minutes a day. And if you're thinking, I don't have enough time to study 1 hour a day or more than 1 hour, I have a job, I have 14 kids. Well, I made a video specifically about how to study if you don't have enough free time and how to keep making progress. So I'll put the link to that in the description. So make sure that you're dedicating enough time and that you're being consistent with it. You're creating good habits and routines. So those are 3 things to think about in terms of making sure that you're progressing more. But like I already mentioned, it's very possible that your expectations are just too high. I think this happens to everyone who learns a language, especially as an adult. If it's our first foreign language we're learning, we don't really know what to expect and we think, I'll just make up a routine and then I'll speak perfectly in a year or maybe 2 years, and it just doesn't work like that a lot of the time. And then when that doesn't happen, you end up feeling bad about yourself. But no, language learning is generally a slow process. Not everyone will tell you that because it doesn't sell courses. You have to put in a lot of work and time and effort for a long time to see results. If you're thinking, I should be better by now, I should be speaking better by now, that's just not true because you're on your own path. We're all learning our languages on our own path. It's like our own personal adventure, and it's a lifelong journey. So no, don't compare yourself to what someone else is doing. You're learning at the right path for you, and you always have the option to try to improve your study routine. So in other words, you probably are improving little by little, you're just not noticing right now. One reason why people don't notice their improvement is because of the language learning curve. When you learn a new skill, the progress is not linear. So the better you get at the skill, the harder it is to make progress and see that progress. When you first start a language, you think you're progressing a lot because you're like, oh my God, I just learned the colors. I just learned all of these verb tenses. I'm a genius. And then as you learn more and reach the intermediate phase, or some people call it the intermediate plateau, you realize that there are thousands of expressions and words and just a sea of information that you don't know, and it can feel more overwhelming, and so your progress is going to be smaller and smaller and you're not really going to notice it as much. But that does not mean that you're not progressing. A way that you can deal with this problem of feeling like you're not improving is to literally record what you're learning. Maybe at the end of the day, write the things you learned, or at the end of the week, write the new things you learned so you can see that you are learning new things. You can also measure your progress. You can record yourself talking regularly, maybe once a week, once a month, and then in the future go back and see what your level was. Or you can write down how much of a show or a video you understood, and then in the future you can watch the same video and see if you understood more. Another thing to consider is that you might not be improving that much right now, but you're putting in the work and the effort, and the improvement is going to come later. So I read a story from someone on Reddit one time who said that they had terrible listening skills, they could not understand native speakers, and they kept practicing, and then eventually one day it all hit and they could understand the majority. You never know when that moment is going to happen, when everything is going to click and you could see a lot of progress in a very short amount of time. That's happened to me with speaking. So I'll feel like I'm not improving in speaking, and then suddenly one day my speaking just improves significantly. So lower your expectations, keep track of your progress, and have faith. And you will make progress. You probably already are making progress and not even seeing it. Has the feeling that you're not progressing ever made you want to quit or feel bad about yourself? Let me know in the comments. I'm interested to hear your perspective. And check out these videos here. I'll be here next week with a new video teaching you real native English so you can become fluent from home. And I'll see you next week. Bye!